Well, listen, between Celina, Hunter, and Epstein, we are about to have a spicy show. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Not in a good way either. It's all creepy all the way around. It's going to be a real creepy 3 hours. Actually, this is just going to take up about the first 2 hours of the show. But I'm starting off with the Epstein list here on the James Show because Trump finally addressed it, and not because it was voluntary. There's about to be a vote that's forced in Congress. Tom Massey is partnering up with a handful of other Republicans. I think it's like four other ones: Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Tom Massey. I think that's all it takes, because now that they got this new woman sworn in on the Democrat side, they're going to force a vote on releasing the Epstein docs. And so Donald Trump kind of got ahead of it yesterday, and he put out on Truth Social, his platform, his Twitter/X. I wish I had audio of this, but please just allow me to read it. And I'm not going to do a Trump impersonation. He said, as I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. It's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. Okay, so that started the ball rolling. The soundbite he's referring to, I believe, is this. Or was this morning?
Mr. President, Representative Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party. I talk to anybody. I talk to you, right? I talk to anybody. We'll see what happens.
I enjoy it too much when he calls him a terrible reporter. And like you're a terrible reporter. Like at the very beginning, remember that? Here.
Representative Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter.
That part. I'm going to miss that when it's gone. Now, he's half right, half wrong. This isn't some Democrat hoax. This is a legit issue. And the reason we know it's a legit issue is because both parties are holding it. And also because of the statements of some people who have been adjacent to this, who know a little bit more than you and I do. There's like Tom Massey was interviewed yesterday. Let me play a couple of these clips here. Number one, he's talking about being able to force the vote here.
After months of fighting, I am winning this week with Ro Khanna. We're forcing this vote, and it's going to happen. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement. But in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump's presidency.
Well, and he's right. In this time, political theater actually works in our favor. No one wants to vote against this because every time they run for office, in every ad is going to be like, he voted to protect pedophiles. Oh, yeah, he's one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friends. The more rationale explanation is interesting too. What is Tom Massey's theory on why Trump won't release the files? You don't think he's guilty, do you?
You know, I've never said that these files will implicate Donald Trump, and I really don't think that they will. I think he's trying to protect a bunch of rich and powerful friends, billionaires, donors to his campaign, friends in his social circles. And that's my operating theory on why he's trying so hard to keep these files closed.
What do you think is actually in these files? I mean, we've seen so much Epstein material, from the criminal cases, the stuff that just came out this week, from the estate. What do you think is left?
Yeah, I don't have to guess at what's in the files. I've talked to the survivors through their lawyer, and we know there are at least 20 people in those files. There are politicians, billionaires, movie producers who are implicated criminally, who haven't been investigated. And it's up to the FBI, not the survivors and the DOJ, to release those names or at least to investigate them. And when I see Donald Trump announce a bunch of investigations, I don't see him going after these rich elites that are implicated in these files, according to the survivors.
And, that's about where I'm at on that. And I just want to point out like a personality thing in the back and forth. It has nothing to do with policy here, but Donald Trump's talking about how Thomas Massey's terrible, whatever, and never sides with the Republicans. And what's Tom Massey's worst case scenario about Trump? He's protecting some people who are in his orbit, some donors or billionaires or heads of state or some other elected officials, maybe some senators or some tech bros. But it wasn't hatred. It wasn't he's a terrible guy. So I am leaning with what Massey just said there. Donald Trump's not going to get in trouble. Joe Biden's not going to get in trouble. Barack Obama's not going to get in trouble. J.D. Vance isn't going to get in trouble. But some people that we have heard of are. The sooner this comes out, I think the better. And we can get this past this because I really don't like the conspiracy theories that this sort of question mark floating above everyone's head necessarily, it just feeds that. So let's get it out. Let's call these crazy pedophiles and throw them in prison where they belong. And let's take care of the next problem. Coming up next, we're going to go to our legal analyst, Jeremy Rosenthal. Because one question that you and I have both had is, why hadn't someone leaked this already? You can't say, well, because leaking is illegal and people get in trouble. No, people get leak stuff all the time. Why not this? Why don't the lawyers leak it? They know the names of these people. What is it, Bill Gates or something? Why doesn't Tom Massey leak it? Why doesn't anyone name names? We'll ask a lawyer next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, why hadn't someone leaked the Epstein list yet? Let's talk about that on the James Show. News Talk 820 FM WBAP, the legal analyst of the James Show. Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com, coming back on to help me out with this. Because here's where my conflict comes from, Jeremy. Welcome back. But the idea that the Epstein list hasn't been leaked, well, is that explained by it's illegal to do so and these people could be risking their jobs or even prosecution? I mean, these are sensitive government documents. And then on the other hand, we see things that are leaked all the time that kind of fit that exact same description. So what's so different about this? I don't know, Jeremy. You explain it. So if you're one of the victims of Epstein and you saw some things or you participated in some things, how come those girls haven't spoken out? Well, I don't want to fuss them for not leaking. I feel like if I was in that position, or there's so many girls in that position, maybe one of them would have done it. All right, explain to me why. Let's say the lawyers who observed the Ghislaine Maxwell case and actually had some of the names named in front of them. Why don't they speak and say, "Well, you know what? I heard about this guy, and this guy." What keeps them clammed up? Well, I think about when I had you on, there was they were trying to get the grand jury testimony released, and you told me that's just always been behind lock and key, and there's sort of a great barrier for entry to get a hand on those because they get sort of special treatment there. So I thought you were going to give me an answer like that. You better get it right or I'll check you. Yeah. Right. Minnesota, yeah. Fantastic wrestler too. Don't believe it was fake. All right. All right, we're talking with Jeremy Rosenthal from TexasDefenseFirm.com. He does our legal analysis on the James Show. Now, let's say there was a case out there and I wanted to get evidence from it. Is there a process to do that? Is there like a Freedom of Information Act request or a public records request? Like the Epstein list? Dang. I have a feeling we're going to have to do a future episode on why is so damn much of this thing redacted. And that's about it. We're kind of out of time here. All right, Jeremy Rosenthal, I appreciate your legal expertise, sir. You can find his work at TexasDefenseFirm.com. He has a law office up in McKinney. So we'll have you on soon. Thanks, Jeremy. Coming up next, new info on the guy who shot Donald Trump's ear. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, football fans. Look, Cowboys are playing tonight. If you haven't fallen off the bandwagon just yet, you can add a little more spice to the Cowboys. Look, they're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders are absolute dog water, so I know they're going to win. But listen, I know their season's cooked. But this is how good Prize Picks is. Prize Picks is so fun. It makes it worth your time to watch the Cowboys again. I've already made my lineup for tonight, and I am looking at the Cowboys' run defense, looking at you guys. So Ashton Genty, who's the very good running back for the Raiders there, 65.5 rushing yards. I picked more on that one. 0.5 touchdowns. I picked more on that one. Javonte Williams, our awesome running back, 75.5 yards. I picked more on that one because the Raiders defense is terrible. And then 0.5 touchdowns. I picked more on that one. So I have 4 in my lineup. It could be 2, it could be 6, but you can win up to 2,000 times your money. I'm putting up $20 to win $110. So that's how it works. And if you're new to the Prize Picks app, download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP. You get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. So download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP. Get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. You are going to want to hear this new info about Trump's attempted assassin. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And there's a report that came out today from Miranda Devine at the New York Post. Miranda Devine. If that sounds familiar, she was the lady who broke the story about Hunter Biden's laptop back in October of 2020. Remember that? That was a big deal. And I was going to talk about her. In fact, we'll probably talk about her again later on the show today because she was brought up in an interview with Hunter Biden that I saw last week that I'm going to be bringing to you. And he calls her a working lady, but an uglier word for it, which we're allowed to say on the radio, just trying to be respectful here. But the new info about the would-be Trump assassin, the first one, the guy that actually shot his ear, needs to be put in some context here. Because July 13th, 2024, that's the day of the shooting. The FBI director at the time told Congress that there was nothing in Thomas Crooks's online history that pointed to a motive or a political ideology. A week later, FBI Director Chris Wray's deputy, Paul Abadi, told Congress that comments posted on one of Crooks's social media accounts appeared to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes to espouse political violence and are described as extreme in nature. Now, you cannot go to Thomas Crook's social media accounts. They got wiped pretty fast. Now, there is some forensic analysis, some digital forensics that have been done by some enterprising independent third party here who uncovered pieces of Thomas Crooks's hidden digital footprint. And you can see that not only was it political, this also means that Christopher Wray and this Abadi guy definitely misled Congress. We should say lied to Congress, but in misleading Congress, maybe. Let's just go ahead and not be too hyperbolic with our verbiage here. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Because he left out an entire section of what Crooks talked about online. And the important part is when he made this weird conversion. He was rabidly foaming at the mouth pro-Trump all the way up until 2019. And then in 2020, went anti-Trump and went hard. So there's just people who are extremists no matter what they do. These are the people that go bungee jumping and smoke crack. But this is a guy who went from way over the top pro-Trump to way over the top hating Trump. And so what this also points to is there was definitely politics involved. There was definitely a political motive. There was definitely an ideology, and it wasn't driven by what did Abadi say? Anti-Semitic and anti-immigration. I know what you're trying to say there, Abadi. You're trying to say, well, he's obviously Team Red here. But he also has a different part of the digital footprint that's probably not in your digital footprint. He was part of websites and discussion groups that talked about furries. Do we all know what furries is? Do I have to explain it? There might be kids in the car, so if you don't know what a furry is, people like to think they're anthropomorphic critters for fetish purposes. Hey, I got out of that pretty clean. It's pretty good. And so that doesn't mean that you're on Team Blue just because you have that weird fetish or that weird kink. But I can guarantee you that's not a strong Team Blue constituency. I mean, Team Red constituency. But this is a guy who, if we ever did see the rest of this social media output, you would see him call Trump as racist. You would see him call Trump supporters as a cult. He'd say, how can you people call other sheep, but you are too brainwashed to realize how dumb you are? That's him in February 2020. I mean, literally, you guys sound like a cult sometimes. That sounds like it could have come from Thomas Crooks. Sounds like it could have come from Rachel Maddow. Sounds like it's probably something that they say about every 30 minutes on CNN. I would love to know more about this guy. I think it's insane that we don't. But some more information is leaking out, and eventually we'll get to it, but sooner the better. Coming up next, Who is letting Hunter Biden do interviews? It's a terrible idea. I want to thank him. You'll hear the great audio coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Why is even anybody letting Hunter Biden do interviews? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So Hunter Biden, look, is this the guy that of all the people in the world, it's like him and George Zimmerman and Casey Anthony? It's like y'all should just keep your heads down. Y'all should just go through the rest of your life and try and avoid the media at all costs. There's enough people out there that want to knock your block off. All you do is embarrass yourself. You need to just disappear, bro. Disappear. I mean, this is a guy who you have seen or have the opportunity to see hours of video footage of him smoking crack and being with Russian hookers and taking bribes and all kinds of fun stuff, tossing guns around. And he just got a full pardon from his daddy. Doesn't have to worry about it. Yeah, we'll just do this whole 11-year span. No big deal. Anything that he's done or may have done, or even things that we don't know about. Remember that? That's one of the greatest pardons of all time. I'm going to start, because he did an interview here. I'm going to start with his Miranda Devine comments, because she was the lady who wrote the story that we just talked about in the previous segment on the new information about Thomas Crooks, the attempted Trump assassin, the one that shot his ear. She learned new information about him. Well, she's also the lady that broke the story about Hunter Biden's laptop in October of 2020, who turned out to be right, who turned out to be all kinds of persecuted. Oh, she's passed along Russian disinformation. She must actually be Russian herself, and all kinds of terrible things were said about her. She turned out to be exonerated by the info that came out. And now this is Hunter when he was asked about her last week.
There's no ethics in what, like someone as horrendously ugly as Miranda Devine, physically and in terms of her and in terms of her ethics.
Dang.
It does. I mean, she is, and that goes for, I mean, Daily Mail and, but I mean, they're whores. I mean, they're whores for money. And, she does it because she makes money. And, when she goes to sleep at night, I'm sure she sleeps just fine. But, I don't know anybody that's going to be mourning her when she's gone.
Wow, that's interesting. Miranda Devine is a whore. That's something that gets some people in trouble sometimes if they use language like that about a woman who's not doing anything wrong, who's just doing her job, who's actually turning out to tell the truth when everyone else was lying about her. In fact, she wrote a book about it called Laptop from Hell. Do you remember the great Rush Limbaugh? You want to go back in time there? You remember like one of the biggest scandals, the one that rocked him the most. And I know this because I was on a Rush Limbaugh affiliate at the time. Remember when he said that Sandra Fluke girl, he called her a prostitute? That was just, oh my God, unconscionable. Oh, is it really unconscionable, or did you just hate Rush at the time? Is it really unconscionable to refer to women as whores or prostitutes? Because, do you think I have the receipts here? Of course I have the receipts here. Audiotron 3000. Do your work, sir. Give me Rush Limbaugh saying Sandra Fluke is a prostitute.
What does it say about the college co-ed Susan Fluke, who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says that she must be paid to have sex? What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex.
All right, so that became a headline, and there became a big movement to try and get Rush kicked off the air. And it actually worked in some affiliates where there was, independent ownership and a very sympathetic management who was looking for an excuse to can the guy anyway. Most stations held firm and were rewarded for doing so. But he lost all kinds of sponsors. There's big campaigns that were thrown up against him. We had there were phone banks that were set up where people would go to each one of the stations that he was on, listen to who came on during the commercials, and then call all those companies and say, you have a woman hater that you're supporting with your ad dollars. You need to remove it now, or we will never do business with you again. And it could be someone who's in Seattle or someone who's in Kalamazoo, Michigan, calling a company in Richardson. But, they'd get all freaked out. And it really hurt a lot of radio stations. There were a lot of advertisers who pulled their dollars. And, most of the advertisers weren't shocked by it because they knew it and whatever. But there were a whole bunch of people who didn't like Rush Limbaugh anyway. And they were kind of pensive about spending their advertising dollars with Rush Limbaugh because, I don't like him politically, but this is good for business and there's a good return on my investment here. So it's the right thing to do for the company. And I'm only doing this because it makes dollars and cents. But now I just can't stand it anymore. How is that different than what Hunter just said about Miranda Devine? Here's where it is a little bit different. I actually have audio of Hunter with a prostitute. He calls Miranda Devine a whore. Well, here he is arguing with the prostitute about the weight of his bag of crack.
No, I just weighed out the bag. It's 2.06.
2.07 without the bag.
So how long is...
2 point.
Yeah, okay, come on now. You short me. And here he is doing a CYA video with a Russian prostitute. If you pay close attention, you can discern her accent. Saying, "Are you okay? Have I ever hit you?" This is obviously like a covering his butt for the lawyer scenario.
Sweetheart? Hey. Are you okay? Everything fine? Are you hurt in any way? Any way? Are you hurt? Hey. Is anything hurt on you? Anything? I was literally saying, I'm sorry that it took so long to give you $10,000.
$10,000? $10,000 on a hooker? Oh my God. That's like what I spent on my car. I know I'm not that affluent. But I have more great Hunter Biden audio. I just wanted to start with the fun stuff. But wait until you hear what's coming up next. Hunter Biden, his take on the Charlie Kirk assassination. Wow. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We're continuing with some fun comments from Hunter Biden. And this isn't as fun and flippant and whatever as the last segment. This is actually a sort of, I almost want to say insightful. Not that Hunter Biden's brain is firing on all cylinders and he's going to give you something brilliant, some piece of brilliance here. But this is sort of a peek into the mindset of the people who saw, just like the rest of us, Charlie Kirk get shot and killed in front of all of us 2 months ago. How are they processing this out? Because one of the things I hope is this causes some people to have a little bit of introspection, a little bit of reflection, a little bit of just questioning. Are you sure you're the good guys? Are you sure you're on the right side? Are you sure the other side is the fascists that are violent and hateful and you're the good guys that aren't violent and hateful? Because we're the ones that keep getting shot at. You know, we talked about the new info that came out about the guy who shot Donald Trump's here. No, they're not getting that message here. Hunter Biden talking on, what was this, the Wide Awake podcast? Is there a more ironic name for this than the Wide Awake podcast? But anyway, here's Hunter Biden processing Charlie Kirk. And he's like, well, yeah, that's the narrative, is that he was killed for politics here. But, you know, I'm not sure that's the case. And the guy talking to him, the host said, well, what other narrative could there possibly be other than this guy was killed for his politics? Because, I mean, that's all Charlie Kirk was about. It's not like he talked about politics sometimes and then he was also like in a rap beef with Tupac Shakur. It's not like, well, he talks politics sometimes and then he went hunting with Dick Cheney and there was like a oopsie, huh? What else could it possibly be, Hunter Biden?
I've never really seen a figure like Charlie Kirk be assassinated pretty much purely because of their beliefs.
Well, wait a second. Okay, let's just step back for a second there. Do you know that that's the case?
No.
Okay, and you know that, but here's a really important thing. That is the narrative that is being spun by the right.
I can't think of another one.
I don't know whether Charlie Kirk was shot because of what he believed, or whether he was shot by a disaffected white male, an incel, that had ready access to high caliber rifle and the capacity to be able to shoot a kill shot from over 200 yards from a roof, and somehow disassembled the rifle before he got off the roof without it being able to seen on video. And then amazingly, after being able to do that, was so dumb that he wrote a full confession over text message to his supposed trans roommate that may have been his boyfriend, exonerating his father and blah, 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 blah. Come on, man. Come on. And so I don't know why Charlie Kirk was shot. Candace Owens says Charlie Kirk was shot because he was about to disavow Israel. Okay? I don't know why Charlie Kirk was shot, but I do know this. It's only served one group of people, Charlie Kirk's death. MAGA.
Yeah. So, yeah, what's more likely? A guy that was upset about his politics? A guy who was rolled up in the letter people stuff? He had a trans boyfriend. He had all kinds of other political issues with Donald Trump. Yeah. Is it more likely that he shot him or MAGA had him shot so we could make lefties look bad? Which one's the more likely scenario to you? And look, I had a tendency the first couple of times I heard that soundbite to focus in on how many times he repeated himself and said, because it's like his brain is fried. His brain is like mine at 3 a.m. when I've been up for, almost 24 hours straight and I can't put it together. This is a guy in the middle of the afternoon talking to a podcast host, just blah, 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 blah. He's all over the place, but fight through that. And know that it's not just Hunter Biden who does this. A lot of people have to do this. A lot of people have to do these mental gymnastics to solve the cognitive dissonance in their head. You know, what bothers me is that it's not that they're on Team Blue. It's not that they disagree. It's not that they're anti-Charlie Kirk and oops, this happened. It's that can't you even throw in there that maybe we have a problem? or it's one of many problems, or even just admit it. Admit you guys have a problem with shooting at people you disagree with. You guys have a problem, whether it's the ICE facility over here in Alvarado, whether it's Donald Trump's ear, or whether it's Charlie Kirk just talking to someone on a college campus. Just stop for a minute and just question your own set of beliefs. Just question, well, man, maybe we're right on policy, but we do have a problem with violence. Or maybe we're the good guys overall, but we do have a problem with violence. Or maybe just admit, yeah, that's probably a politically motivated assassination, what we saw with Charlie Kirk. It's not like Charlie Kirk was doing drug deals on the side, the drug deal went bad. It's not like Charlie Kirk was accepting millions of dollars from overseas oligarchs and Ukrainian gas companies and Chinese whatever the hex. That's what you're doing. No, of course it was a political assassination. And if you can't get many people on that side of the aisle to at least say, yeah, that was a political assassination, it's not going to get better. So that's one of the disturbing things that I think we learned from the Hunter Biden interview is that's what's going on in a lot of your friends' heads right now. Do you have that? Do you have like a sister or a daughter or an old college roommate or a guy at work and they're on Team Blue? And you just wonder, like, how can you still think that you're the good guy? How, after Joel Osteen's church getting shot up and all these other churches getting shot up, after the Catholic schools getting shot up, after all the attacks, the stabbings on the train, after all the violence that happens with the BLM riot, after the Dallas cops getting shot up, after the Dallas cop ambush last year, how can you still think that you're the good guy? You're the party of slavery and Jim Crow and Trail of Tears and segregation and different toilets and water fountains. Come on, wake up. So Hunter Biden's appearance on the Wide Awake podcast, also just incredibly ironic because it's called the Wide Awake podcast, especially after that answer. Good Lord. Okay, coming up next, we're going to take a quick look at the headlines that are affecting your money. Trump says the economy's doing great. His critics say it's doing terrible. We'll talk to Preston Brashers from the Heritage Foundation and find out who's closer to correct. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. How's the economy doing? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Such is the problem with having just in the tank anti-Trump media is if you go try and look up normal news sources for how's the economy doing, of course, it's the worst ever. Oh, it's Sodom and Gomorrah, Caligula, dog and cats living together. But it doesn't look that bad. I mean, stock market's around all-time highs. And unemployment's pretty low historically speaking. Inflation still running kind of hot, but more under control than it was for the last 5-6 years almost. So let's ask Preston Brashers from Heritage Foundation his thoughts. Just generally speaking, before we get into some of these more specific topics, would you say the economy's going well, Preston? Well, do we have still some concerns about the tariff situation? Because I think we don't have a final deal on China, if I'm not mistaken. Well, Donald Trump says grocery prices are already much lower than the Biden era. And I would say on some products, he's accurate. On other products, like beef, not so accurate. Is that a fair statement to make? Or can you even put, such a general term on something? Grocery prices are lower than they were. We're talking with Preston Brashers from Heritage Foundation about the economy. Are we going to see the shutdown effects show up in the numbers when it comes to November or when it comes to like the fourth quarter GDP growth? Are they going to be distorted by what we just went through? Preston, I also saw that the stock market just did not care a whole lot about the shutdown at all. Does that make you feel a little more robust about the next shutdown debate that's going to happen around January 30th? Well, he also, when I say he, President Trump also announced some new trade deals south of the border, and I mean way south of the border: Ecuador, Guatemala, El Salvador, Argentina. So, I mean, these aren't big gangbuster economies, and it's not going to rock the world. But could it help with things like, I guess, beef prices and maybe coffee? Well, let me ask you specific numbers then, because there's some deals here for things that we can't make in the U.S., like coffee, bananas, cocoa. Most imports, though, from Argentina, Guatemala, El Salvador, a 10% tariff. Ecuador have a 15% tariff. For my economic understanding, that's still a little high for my preference. Well, where does the Heritage Foundation stand on that? What should the tariff number be? You don't have a default position? Preston Brashers, I appreciate your input on the James Show. This is Preston Brashers from the Heritage Foundation on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, moms hanging out in the carpool line coming up. Celina ISD is having a special meeting tonight to talk to some of their parents about the wave of scandals that have been coming out of their school district. I have some inside info on that. You can get 2 drink tickets from Janet, and then after that, it's going to be a cash bar. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But we'll talk about that next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, parents with kids in school, you're not going to like this segment a whole lot, but you need to hear it. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, I hate these stories because I'll be happy-go-lucky, skipping through my day, just high-fiving people in the hallway. And then I hear stories like this, it kind of ruins your mood. And I don't even like to I don't even like to say this stuff on the air. So I'll let Cambry from Texas Scorecard do the heavy lifting. She's going to start talking about a school that's in Edinburgh, down in the toe in the RGV. But in the second half of this, she's going to talk about Celina. So
a student says she was forced by a head football coach to perform physical exercises completely nude. This time it's Edinburgh CISD. Now, father says head football coach Ernie Alonso forced his son to do strenuous exercises completely naked. And when the kid tried to cover himself, the coach allegedly made him stay nude. And what did the district do? Now, according to the lawsuit, they held a meeting, admitted it happened, apologized, and they sent the kid right back into practice under the same coach. No suspension, no accountability. Why? The lawsuit says it out loud. Political connections. The coach's buddies are in administration. And the cherry on top, now they're claiming government immunity. Now, meanwhile, another school district, Celina ISD, is facing lawsuits for a coach allegedly making kids do nude jumping jacks. This is happening across Texas. Y'all parents are supposed to just smile, trust the system? Absolutely not. Let me end with this. If Texas school districts spend half as much time protecting kids as they do protecting creepy, politically connected coaches, our students would be safer, our schools would be cleaner, and these administrators might actually have to earn their salaries for once.
And for additional context, Celina ISD also had another employee in trouble for inappropriate relations with minors. 2 teachers that had got in trouble for coming to work drunk or being drunk at work. And then a couple of other administrators have been put on leave while the investigations are happening. So they have like 7 people on the bench. Yes, I said that, and I didn't do it on purpose this time. Kids are back in the backseat high-fiving. He said 6'7". He said 6'7". It was awesome. So they're having a meeting tonight to discuss all this. And I don't even think they're focusing on the drunk teachers. I'm like, drunk teachers aren't really the problem. We have bigger fish to fry right now. WFAA.
Meanwhile, also happening tonight, Celina ISD's board is set to meet for the first time since even more teacher arrests have taken place and since federal officials have charged former Celina teacher and coach Caleb Elliott. The former teacher now facing charges of sexually exploiting minors. He's facing 8 counts, 1 for each student he's accused of coercing. Now, this comes as families of those victims have filed lawsuits against the district. There have been 6 Celina ISD educators either arrested or put on leave in the past month. Tonight's meeting set to begin at 6 o'clock. Board members are expected to discuss Elliott and the lawsuits, although this will happen during closed session.
All right, we're going to fire up the old wood chipper here. The James Show has an official wood chipper for situations just like this. You want kids to do naked exercise in the wood chipper. Go. There you go. Oh, God. Clogged up my engine on that one. But yeah, that's where they need to go. We don't need to have meetings about it. We don't need to get the bunch of parents in a room. We need to take these guys. We need to make examples of them. We don't need to turn them back out on the streets. We need to do something about it, make it public. And look, I don't know what goes on in the heads of these guys. Like, do you think you're not going to get caught if you're doing crazy stuff like this? You think, how many kids are you going to do this to? One of them's going to run their mouth. And so it's not rational. Even if you do have those urges, it's beyond rational. Let's just do things that are so scary to these people that for the other sickos that are out there, they're like, I'm just going to keep my head down and I'm just going to repress this for the rest of my life. That's the only way you do something about this. That's the only way you minimize. You're never going to get rid of this. We live in a fallen world full of human beings, and we are not in the Lord's domain. We are in the devil's domain. There's going to be imperfect people out there. The things that we can do is try and make this as minimal as possible. And how do you do that? You make an example out of these guys. This dude that in Edinburgh that was making the kids do the things that Cambry described, he has to go back to practice with that exact same coach. Where's the dads? Dads, what are you doing? And look, I'm not saying, I'm not advocating. I cannot legally and ethically speaking use this platform to go out and tell you to do something illegal. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't be surprised to hear and to report on you one day that suddenly this coach from Edinburgh stopped at a gas station, got boxed in, and some dudes beat him up with baseball bats. I'm not saying I want that to happen. I'm just saying Don't be surprised if it does. Because the dad that this happened to, they were talking about Cambry was mentioning the dude down in Edinburgh. Or heck, you can even do the Celina ones. Those dads haven't killed this guy yet or hit him with the baseball bat or a tack hammer or a poleaxe or anything like that. But there's enough crazy dads out there that someone's going to eventually. We've seen some of these like retribution actions happen before. And as illegal as that is, as immoral as that is, it could serve a better purpose. Do we have to start roughing these guys up ourselves if the criminal justice system isn't going to do it? I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying that could have that criminal activity could have a positive effect in minimizing, because I'm tired of telling you these stories. So also up at Celina ISD, the DPS are already planning a checkpoint at the exit. So because they drink a lot. The meeting in Celina tonight is brought to you by Miller Lite. And I heard there's an after party at Heyday's Bar on the Square. If you're going to the meeting tonight, let me know how it goes. Don't let me know how it goes, please. That was all tongue in cheek. All right, hey, coming up next on the James Show, Dallas has a terrible idea. As dumb as vaping is, outlawing it like cigarettes, even dumber. I'll explain next on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I know we don't like vaping. That doesn't mean it should be illegal. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And it comes up because Dallas is preparing to implement a new regulation to prohibit the use of vapes in public places that already outlaw smoking. Now, I find this incredibly frustrating because smoking was a habit that was just accepted for all of American history until about 50 years ago. And look, there were some people who were saying, this isn't good for you. This is not good for your nose or your throat or your lungs. But it wasn't, see, you're not a pariah if you were a smoker for all of American history up until, God, about 20 years ago, they started being pariahs. But there was that middle ground there where we knew it wasn't good for you. We knew it was bad for you, but we still had cigarettes everywhere. Remember when you had ashtrays in the back seats of the car on the door handle? Remember that? My parents had a Buick. My grandmother had an old car. What was that? Like a Skylark or something. But it had the ashtrays in the back seat. So I don't know if that was for the kids or if you had adults in the back seat. But you didn't even have to roll down the window to chuck your butt. You could just leave it in the car and stank up the whole car. You know how stanky it is to not throw that cigarette out the window and just have it go out? You got 4 ashtrays in the car. What if you're all smoking? So how do we go from being that tolerant in the wintertime? Your dad is driving around in a single cab pickup truck, smoking a cigarette with the windows up, and you just dealt with it, to now all of a sudden, ooh, I can't even smell strawberry deluxe vape smoke. What have we become? Part of this isn't, I don't think this is health related. I don't think this is even like a quality of life issue. I think some people just love telling other people what to do. Because I'm not even convinced, and the FDA itself isn't convinced, and science isn't convinced that secondhand smoking is necessarily even that bad. Do you know who invented the term secondhand smoke? You know who the first guy who brought up as a public concern through the edifice of government about secondhand smoke? God, why don't you know this stuff? Hitler. In German, it translates directly of passive smoking is what he called it, but we call it secondhand smoke over here. That was one of his bits. You know, he also did universal health care and windmill program too, but let's not chase that rabbit. Now, smoking is something that is annoying as hell because it stinks. And it doesn't just kind of stink. It stinks bad. And it even stinks when you leave the room. And it has tar in it. And it makes the ceiling yellow. And it makes electronic equipment get like the little dust smoke particles in there. And so when you slide the potentiator and the soundboard, it goes, you can hear the dust particles crackling. I hate smoking. But this whole fervor about making it illegal and driving it from everywhere in the public sphere, way out of hand. Absolutely way out of hand. Now, I like going to restaurants and bars that don't allow smoking. Why? Because I don't smoke. And I remember when we were younger and we would go to the club or we would go to the bar, we'd go pick up chicks or go play pool. You would come home smelling like you were a Marlboro cigarette. You would come home smelling like the Marlboro man like swallowed a grenade and then blew up in front of your face. It was terrible. It was God, and I don't miss those days. But I stand firm that the only people who should be making the rules on whether or not you allow smoking in a particular building is the people who own it. Period, point blank, end of story. Now, this vaping thing, you can't even sell me on the secondhand smoke aspect of vaping 0.5%, 1% of 1%. I'm not even sold on secondhand smoke for regular tobacco, but for vaping, the only cost to you, the only price that's paid by an involuntary third party is smelling it. And it's not as bad. It doesn't stick around. Hell, half the time, it's kind of nice. Wouldn't you like to smell like a grape dreamsicle or whatever the hell those flavors are? Or that one's probably outlawed by now. So I don't know where this fervor's coming from. Is there anyone going down to City Hall saying, man, we got to do something about all these idiots vaping? It's so annoying. No, I know people that would like to have a chat with City Hall about homeless folks down here in downtown Dallas or harassing you whenever you exit off the freeway. I know there's people who have concerns about being so much in debt and your property taxes are skyrocketing. I know people who have concern about crime or getting shot on the DART train. You know, 3 people killed, what was it, like just this year in the last couple months? I know people are concerned about 8,000 other things before they get to vaping, yet this somehow gets passed in the law. Who's the anti-vaping crowd? Who are you people? Because I hear from some of them on an individual level. Well, they'll say, that's not good for you either. You'll get popcorn lung, and you could stop it and it won't reverse. And there's 18-year-olds that have died from this. Leave them alone. Then let them do it. More people are dying from sugar than vaping every year. I don't see outlawing Skittles. And when I say from sugar, I mean people die from obesity and hypertension and diabetes and all these other obesity-related illnesses. And we're not trying to outlaw a chocolatey Eclair. If these dorks with their stupid clothes and their hoodies and their bad attitudes and they're hating their dad, if they want to vape, let them vape. Let them be miserable in the corner, just vape. Or I don't know, maybe it'll be cool one day. I just don't understand where people care. Why do you care if people are vaping? Right? Because I have to smell it. Do you have to smell it? How close are you standing to vaping people? And maybe you could just have the conversation with them. It's like, hey, I really don't like that smell. Could you not blow that in my face? Why do you have to control their activity? Maybe you have bad breath and I don't want to smell that. Do I outlaw your throat? Of course not. Sounds stupid, Parker. Do I think I should be able to make people do mouthwash if they're going to stand next to me in a restaurant or in a bar? Outlawing a smell, huh? Outlawing a vape smell. I thought this was America. Not to quote South Park for the 100th time, but I thought this was America. What do you think about the public vaping ban? Because the city of Dallas is already doing it. I don't know how to fight it. I feel like I'm way outnumbered on this one. But the city of Dallas will prohibit vaping in any public or enclosed area where smoking is already forbidden. This is why we talk about slippery slopes. No, you can't give the city the control over whether or not you have smoking allowed in your buildings. Why? Well, because it's not going to stop there. Oh, it's a slippery slope fallacy. Well, now it's not. Treating e-cigarettes the same way it treats conventional tobacco products isn't going to save anybody's life. It may save a couple of sniffs here and there. But where does this end? Do you own your business or not? Do you own your building or not? Do you have control over your own private property or not? And it's not just us. San Antonio banned vaping, Austin banned vaping, Houston banned vaping. We're just the next one to fall. Because Dallas policy right now also restricts vaping within 15 feet of any entrance to an indoor public facility. People, mind your own business. This is a fine up to $500. Mind your own business. Or can someone defend this? I promise I'll be respectful. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, well, I am told that everyone who gets SNAP is going to have to reapply for SNAP. And I like the sound of that. I'm not sure it'll be as effective as we hope, but I'll explain myself next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners. James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Listen, if your house is looking crusty, if your paint is starting to crack and chip and peel, maybe you're seeing some flaking around the edges, don't make the mistake and paint it again. You want to go with the solution that makes sure that's not going to happen. How do you do that? Rhino Shield. Why? It's some space age technology. Gary will come out to your house and show you how it works. It's this two-part. It's going to blow your mind. Like the primer coat, the first thing they go on, actually before they do the primer, they seal your house top to bottom. The prep work's immaculate. If you have any holes or boards that are flawed, they'll fix them for you because they want it fixed right and they want it to be sealed properly. And they'll do that at cost. They seal up your house. Then they do the primer, which is like a really thin kind of crepe. It's almost rubbery. It kind of stretches, which explains how it expands and contracts with your house. It breathes, and that way it doesn't break apart and crack and flake and peel. And then the coating that they put on it is like a nanoparticle ceramic coating that it's in a little jar. and like the little film canisters, and Gary will shake it for you, and it'll slosh around like a liquid. But you put your finger in there and you pull it out, it's 100% dry. It's just really, really tiny ceramic particles, and it's the same technology like they use on the space shuttle or for rockets when they're re-entering the atmosphere. Why? Well, because it has a great insulation value. It reflects UV rays. It's the same thing it'll do for your house. It'll keep your house cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter, so it'll save you time and money, and you can just eliminate the idea of having to repaint ever again. If you're worried about the price, I can help you in 2 ways. Mention the James Show, you get 20% off through the holidays. And then also, if you don't want to come up front with all the money, they can do financing for you and get you down to like, I don't know, 160, 170 bucks a month with Rhino Shield. So call Gary, get him to come out, give you a quote, show you how the technology works, and I think you'll like what you see. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Yeah, welcome back to the big show. I know. Good to see you, too. So we were talking about Dallas is expanding its public smoking ban to vaping. I am definitely against it. I don't like vaping. I don't vape. I don't want my kids to vape. But really, I have a hard time caring. I really have a hard time telling other people what to do. I don't even like the smoking bans on actual cigarettes, and I hate cigarettes. I hated going to bars and leaving smelling like a cigarette. But you know what I like more than I hate cigarettes? Freedom. I like freedom more than I hate cigarettes. I like people having private property and being able to control their own rules. Because look, there was a marketplace that was opening up. I remember before they did the ban, there were bars out there that were smoke-free already. And there were more that were getting on board with that. And I think pretty soon, even without the ban, we would have had most, if not all, bars be smoke-free, unless you want to have a cigar bar or it was like a really white trashy bar or something to that effect. I think we were headed down the right path without government getting involved, without giving up the control of the rules for our own property. And this vaping ban's just absolute weak sauce. This is Adam and Wiley. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James. Yeah, I was just kind of wondering if you think that the ban had anything to do with connecting it with the THC bans and the fact that the vape pen for an e-cigarette looks exactly the same as a THC vape pen, which is an automatic felony, and maybe they're just not wanting to say that.
No, I wouldn't say that, because the statutes as they're written seem to mimic what happened in Austin, San Antonio, and Houston already, and those weren't done within the context of the THC debate. So that might be like a little side benefit for the anti-THC crusaders out there. You know, they may be concerned, well, you could still sneak it if you vape it and we can't smell it. And I don't know, that might be a little bit of bonus incentive. That probably wasn't their primary motivation, Adam.
Yeah, I was just curious. I don't think they should overreach either. I think they should just stay in their lane and let us be.
Well, look, a lot of people say that. I want to go in the other direction. I want to say we should get rid of the smoking bans, because it's not going to go back. We're not going to have every bar smelling like an ashtray. We got too used to being able to go to bars and not stink when we leave, that I think I would choose. I know Miss Parker definitely, if we were going out and we could choose between the smoky bars and the non-smoky bars, we would choose the non-smoky bars. But I feel for people who like to smoke. There's still like 17% of the population that smokes. Shouldn't they be able to have a place where they can go? And if you do want to smell like just a Marlboro Man when you leave, that's fine too. I mean, it's not that I feel sorry for them. It's just I would like for them to have their preference as well.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think so, the same thing, because I wouldn't go to restaurants that allow smoking either.
Well, I also have a hard time, because I feel like there's some other motivation, like you were initially saying there, Adam. They can't really just be this mad about vaping, you know, because the excuse they give is that, well, it's just not healthy, and that didn't work enough to ban smoking. There had to be the secondhand smoke. There had to be like an involuntary cost that was put on a third party that made us all agree that, okay, well, maybe we should allow government to have the power to save people if it's hurting people. But this vaping doesn't hurt anybody besides the person doing it. And I'm not even that sure it's hurting the people that are doing it. I'm sure there's people out there who have just done so much it's made them sick. But I think most people can do it without experiencing negative health consequences. And so the justification for this is just so flimsy.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
All right. Well, thanks again, Adam and Wiley. Appreciate it, sir. All right. So what do you think about requiring people who are on Snap to all sign up again? I don't know. Again, this is better than what we have, where people can get on it and just stay on it for a whole generations. You know, grandma, mom, and daughter are on it. We had those viral videos going around. But shouldn't we just get rid of the program altogether if it's so flawed, if there's that many people that are misusing it?
Now says that everyone who's on Snap.
I'm sorry, this is Fox and Friends Weekend Edition.
Now says that everyone who's on Snap is going to have to reapply. Now, this happened, of course, when the government shut down and there was, the SNAP benefits were not getting out to the people.
For 42 million Americans.
For 42 million. Well, we
people
thought Americans.
Inside the country.
People is probably the better. Yep. People. And so Brooke Rollins, we had her on, and we had a great conversation with her where she said, hey, listen, this whole SNAP benefits conversation around the shutdown has sort of pulled the curtain back, and people are seeing how many people are on SNAP that aren't actually citizens, and they're going to have to reapply. What do you make of this? I think it's
all right. Hey, let me tell you what. I love the idea. But I just think we should get rid of it altogether. I like the idea of letting the American people know just how abused it has been, how many dead people are getting it, how many people are double dipping, how many people are getting more than one SNAP benefit. Are they doing it across state lines? Are any of these people going to go to jail? I think there's a lot of accountability to be had in this, but ultimately it shouldn't be, well, we need to restrict it or we need to be better stewards of the taxpayer dollar. How about we just have the government get out of the charitable food business? I think that's the lesson here. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, the Cowboys have a game tonight, and John Ingham will tell you about their chances. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. If you're watching on the live stream of the video, you can see I'm wearing my Cowboys shirt today. Cowboys have a game tonight. I like their odds. They're playing against the Las Vegas Raiders, who may be one of the few teams that I can easily admit is worse than the Cowboys. In fact, the Cowboys should win tonight. Why do I not sound more enthusiastic? Dude. Don't get excited. The season's going nowhere. I love my team, but this is something I was born into. I'm not that enthusiastic about being mediocre for 30 years. A little relevance would be nice. You know, it used to be like, I'm not going to be happy until we win the Super Bowl again. You know what? I think I'd be happy if we could just make it to the conference finals. I mean, that would count as a Super Bowl in our book. It's been so long since we've been at the top of the heap there. I was expecting to have John Ingham here to give me assist. He's running a little late, so when he shows up, maybe we'll get back to the Cowboys. But in his absence, let me go ahead and jump to what I was going to do next. Anyway, Bill Maher of all people, stopped down on his show on Friday and had to have a chat with his side of the aisle. Now, when we talk about Team Blue, I often try and delineate. There's the true believers, and then there's the useful idiots. And then if you split down, if you allow me a little more nuance, within the true believers, the people who actually know what they believe, why they believe it, they've actually read books and studied. They can actually explain their positions, and it's not all emotional. There's a divide within Team Blue under that. And those are the people who are socialists and the people who are not, just to be oversimplified for the sake of discussion. Now, Bill Maher is not one. Bill Maher is a guy who's been a Democrat his whole life. He calls himself a liberal or a progressive or whatever flavor of Team Blue, but he is not down with the hyper woke stuff. He remembers just 20 years ago, the things that are being called hate crime and hate speech now is the position that Democrats used to have in their presidential candidates. Remember, Barack Obama, when he was elected, did not support legal gay marriage. We have reels of Democrats saying we need to close the border and illegal immigration is bad. He remembers that. So he gets a lot of credit. When I talk about, the Team Blue people who haven't lost their mind, he's one that comes to mind. Another one, Mark Cuban. But the ones that are off their rocker, the woke crowd, we're talking about the AOCs. We're talking about, I don't even know if I put Jasmine Crockett in that crowd, but the Bernie Sanders, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and now Mom Donnie. And Mom Donnie just comes out straight up says, hey, I'm a socialist. This is great.
I am a democratic socialist.
That's him in his victory speech after he won. Now, democratic doesn't change anything about his economic policies that have been proven to fail every time they've been tried in history. Oh, you just put democratic in front of it and all of a sudden it becomes okay. It's not the same failed policies that we saw all over the 20th century and then rolling into the 21st century. So I just think it means so much more when this argument comes from someone who's on Team Blue. Because of course I'm going to say it. Of course you're going to say it. People on Team Blue will be like, yeah, you're going to criticize anything that guy does. But when Bill Maher says it, they need to listen. This was Friday.
Because socialism, to put it simply, just doesn't work and has never worked. Kids think that stuff that happened before their appearance on the planet didn't really happen, but it did. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland, but then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism, and now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chavez's socialism for the 21st century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century or any century, a fucking mess.
Sorry about that. Somebody said a bad word. So we will go to John Ingham. You can hear him on WBAP on the weekends here. John, we were just lamenting the Cowboys. They're playing the Raiders tonight. I mean, I like their odds to win this game, but I'm running out of care for the rest of this season, John. Wait, why'd you call DeMarvion Overshawn Agent Zero? I keep an eye on him because he's from yeah, and that's not where I went to high school, but that's where I got my mail from growing up. Bug tussle's a whole weird scenario. So yeah, I'm excited because no one from my zip code has ever done anything with their life, myself included. Mm-hmm. No, and being from such a small town, I know people who know him or his parents, and everyone says nice things about him. Like, there's other people from sort of that area. Like Patrick Mahomes is from White House, which is kind of between Bug Tussle and Hooterville. Everyone says nice things about him and his parents. Of course, the big name from, if you go to the big city where I'm from, Tyler, that's home to Earl Campbell. Yeah, Tyler Rose. Yeah, we never shut up about him. So, all right, so. You think they're going to win tonight? Because, not only do I think they're going to win, this is one of the few teams that I think we match up well against. I looked into a little bit of the Raiders, and I think we might have a big win tonight. Exactly. Good Lord. Okay, so John Ingham, coming up next, we're playing Dead or Alive, and today's category is running backs. Who is your top running back of all time? Yeah, you know what? That's about what I would say. Okay, so why not a Walter Payton or Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith? Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much. There's John Ingham. You can hear him on the weekends on WBAP. And we'll talk to you soon. Probably be sports related again. Thank you, John. Coming up next, Dead or Alive, the running back edition. We're playing for a $50 gift card to Eatsy's Market and Bakery. So if you want some food on the house, call in right now. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Dead or Alive next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're just in time for Dead or Alive on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Dead or Alive, it's the easy video game show on The James Show. I'm going to give you 10 celebrities or names that you should know. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. That's it. Now for the intro. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. Today's edition, thank you. Today's edition is running backs. That's today's category. And today's prize, we're playing for a $50 gift card to Eatsy's Market and Bakery. Discover Eatsy's, a European-style market and bakery offering chef-crafted meals, daily specials, fresh bread, pastries, more. I like eating there, but I really like it when the boss springs for Eatsy's when we have one of those meetings where everyone's got to show up and there's going to be sandwiches, or this is what a Christmas party counts as in 2025 or whatever. Love it. All right, so to the phones we go. Oh, there's no women who want to guess on the mortal situation of our favorite running backs. This is Brian in Plano. Hey, Brian, you're starting us off on Dead or Alive. You ready?
I'm ready.
How confident are you in your knowledge of running backs, Brian?
Well, sometimes I think I'm pretty good at this game, and then I fail drastically. So we'll see.
I appreciate the humility. All right, we'll start with an easy one. Quite possibly the greatest running back of all time, Jim Brown, dead or alive?
Oh, man, that's the one I'm thinking about. He is alive.
Dead. Sorry, Brian and Plano. I appreciate it. All right, this is Lance and Brock. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Yep.
All right, so Jim Brown's dead. What about probably the second best running back of all time, Walter Payton, dead or alive?
Walter dead.
Yes, Walter Payton is dead. Emmitt Smith, dead or alive?
Alive.
Eric Dickerson, dead or alive?
Alive.
Barry Sanders, dead or alive?
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, you know, Oklahoma State fan?
He's alive.
He is alive. Larry Zonka, dead or alive?
Dead.
No, he's still alive. I mean, he's old as hell, but he's still alive. Thank you very much, Lance. Mark Midlothian, you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
All right. The team that won the first Super Bowl is Green Bay. Their starting running back, his name's Jim Taylor. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Franco Harris from the Steelers that kicked our butts all over the place. Dead or alive?
He passed away. He's dead.
Yeah, just recently, too.
Mm-hmm.
The most famous person from Bug Tussle, Earl Campbell, dead or alive?
Excuse me?
Earl Campbell.
Earl Campbell's very much alive. Tyler Rose.
Yes, sir. And thank you for saying that. That means so much to those of us from Bug Tussle. It's the only way y'all have ever even heard of our town. And finally, this is Mark and Midlothian's favorite running back, O.J. Simpson, dead or alive?
He is dead.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Mark and Midlothian, thank you very much for playing. You have won a $50 gift card to Eatsy's Market and Bakery. Discover Eatsy's, a European-style market and bakery offering chef-crafted meals, daily specials, fresh bread, pastries, and more. Dude, they have great sandwiches, and they have really, really good cookie cake. So if you're going to spend your $50, I recommend one of those two options, sir. Thank you. That's Mark and Midlothian. Hang on. One of the Garretts in there will get your information, and we'll make sure you get that gift card. Coming up next, Donald Trump's making fun of windmills, and it's hilarious. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who wants to hear Trump make fun of windmills? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Now, I want to stress that we're not playing this just so we can dunk on him like, yeah, Trump was mean to someone and isn't that funny? The point of this soundbite and the point of this lesson that I'm trying to get more people to absorb here is that this doesn't just apply to windmills. This is an economic reality that happens across the spectrum in other industries as well. Because, look, you're right about the windmills. When the whole windmill experiment was getting geared up and, 20 years ago or so when they were saying, let's start subsidizing windmills, we need to switch to windmills. Now, the free market didn't like windmills because it wasn't reliable. It was expensive. Coal and natural gas and hydroelectric and nuclear and just about every other avenue was cheaper to create energy other than windmills. And we were saying, look, you can build these all you want, but it's not going to work. You're going to have to continually subsidize it, and you're going to be very disappointed with the results. So here they didn't listen to you. They built them anyway. They have terrible results. But the lesson here isn't that we should dunk on them. Ha ha, we were right, you were wrong. The lesson is, these other economic arguments that we're having right now, the same thing applies. Our predictions versus their predictions. Our predictions on what would make medical costs go down, what would make your healthcare costs go down, what would make your health insurance premiums go down. We're having that discussion right now. Some people are saying more subsidies, aren't they? That's what this whole shutdown thing was about. We need to extend the Obamacare subsidies. We got to extend the Obamacare tax credit subsidy. Has it worked ever before? Did it work for electric cars? You realize we've been subsidizing electric cars for 20 years now. And what are we, like 3% of cars out there are electric? After we spent trillions of dollars subsidizing it, 3% is all you got? So the point isn't that windmills are bad. It's that government subsidies are bad. And actually, to be more positive about it, the free market is a better approach than government subsidies. The free market gets it right when government subsidies do not. In fact, if it was a good technology, you wouldn't have to subsidize it. I think that is the ultimate lesson here. But now that we have all that set up, let's hear Trump make fun of windmills. He's talking to some journalist from the Great Britain, GB, this morning or whatever the show is. But he's talking about Scotland specifically and UK generally.
And you're destroying your country with windmills all over the place. I mean, I fly over Scotland and I fly over parts of the UK in helicopter a lot. And I'm looking down and I see these gorgeous fields being destroyed by windmills. The most expensive energy you can get. It's intermittent because if it's not windy, you don't even get it. But to put up those things means you lose millions of dollars every time you put up a windmill. You lose millions of dollars because they don't make money, they lose money. You're supposed to make money with energy. And you're putting up windmills all over, you're killing all the birds, by the way. They're ugly as hell, they make noise, they're very unsafe, and they produce, every time that thing goes around, it loses money.
And some people say, well, I mean, the profit motive shouldn't run everything. Yeah, it should, actually. Profit motive has its flaws. It's not perfect. But it has definitely proven itself to be better than letting politicians control such decisions. But look at how many times this happens. How many times we get to a fork in the road and there are predictions made. Your predictions turn out to be correct. Their predictions turn out to be wrong. But they don't let go of them. This is all based kind of on climate change, when you talk about electric cars and windmill technology and solar and other things like that are subsidized. But this isn't, stuck with just the carbon footprint type stuff. I mean, this is kind of thinking applies to DART trains, applies to bike paths, it applies to healthcare, it applies to just about anything that they want to subsidize. Remember when they were subsidizing ethanol? I remember this was a flare-up that happened at the beginning of my radio career because, I don't know, that's when I became more coherent than ever and just started absorbing everything. As we were being told that, hey, we've got to get off this evil fossil fuel, and we have this stuff, ethanol, that works just as good, and it comes from corn, which is renewable, unlike fossil fuels, which isn't renewable, and it's a finite resource, and this isn't. So we're going to be switching over, and we'll just speed up the process that'll naturally happen for us to switch over by subsidizing it in the meantime. Did we ever switch over? No. But you can say the same thing for electric cars. You can say the same thing for solar panels. You can say the same thing for windmills. You can say the same thing for DART trains. You can say the same thing for bike paths. You can say the same thing for health insurance. All these government subsidies, when have they ever worked? There are great historical rundowns on when we first got the steamship industry in America. The steamship industry, had gotten a head start in Britain. Britain before anyone else started doing fun things with water vapor, water steam. And so we thought, if Britain has monopolized this industry where they get to go back and forth carrying our people and our stuff and our mail and our cargo across the Atlantic, we need to get in on this. And our Congress subsidized it. It failed. Cornelius's subsidized steamship company failed, but Mr. Vanderbilt's succeeded. The subsidized attempt to build the Transcontinental Railroad failed, was it 2 or 3 times? And then it was finally accomplished in earnest by a guy in the private sector using his own money, or, using the borrowed money from some of his other evil, rich capitalist pigs. They call them robber barons now, so they sound awful, even though they're not. So that's the real lesson here. It's just fun to hear them make fun of windmills right to their face. But it's also kind of embarrassing because I don't know if you've ever driven to El Paso or Lubbock or whatever, but we got windmills all over this state. And it's one of the reasons why you look back and you're like, all right, Rick Perry, Greg Abbott, you guys were in favor of this? This all happened under your watch. Most of it, all of it happened under the watch of these last 2 guys. But y'all are still pro windmill after all this? What the heck's going on with y'all? So can we just learn the lesson and just admit the market's better than politicians at picking the technology of the future? And they need to stop wasting your money forcing the issue because it never works out, does it? Weird Al Yankovic is coming to town. He's going to be at Dickies Arena September 25th. Special guest Puddle's Pity Party. It's his Bigger and Weirder 2026 tour. Get tickets and information at livenation.com, or you can listen to the WBAP Morning Show this week to find out how you can win a pair of tickets from our morning show crew. So just another reason to go check them out and give them a listen when you have a chance. So, yeah, and that applies for all the shows. Love the morning show. Love Casey. Love Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins that come on right before me. Of course, I love me. Mark Levin's on after that. So stick around for the whole day if you got a chance. If you need more James Show action in the meantime, now that the show's over, I'm about to get out of here and go put up the podcast. Check it out, WBAP.com, WBAP app. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.